So tonight we are going to be studying the Haggadah. So when Pesach comes and you're sitting at the table, you're at the Seder, we should be able to contribute something and not just sit there like a dummy. So we are going to open the book. By the way, everyone has a Haggadah, I trust, and we will start immediately. The Haggadah is an amazing, amazing book. And if you really want to get out of it, the best, you have to go through each and every word. We cannot do that tonight, but we'll try to give you at least a bird's eye view. And Haggadah itself means lahagid, to say, to tell, but it's a tough language. There are two ways you could say to speak. Lomar, which is a soft language, and lahagid is a more tougher language. So when God gave us the Torah, He said, Kotoma lebeit Yaakov, speak softly, gently to the women, lahagid lebeis Yisrael, but speak like in military terms to the man. And Haggadah is not just an option. It's not just, that, it's nice stories. No, it's commandment from God. Everybody must be at the Seder. It's an amazing thing that over the years, even the most secular Jew goes to a Seder. Even if, God forbid, they don't eat exactly kosher. I don't want to say another word, but if they don't eat exactly kosher, somehow they still make a Seder. And it really is astonishing that people never forget the Seder. So we are going to go through the entire order as much as we can. You start your Seder by going through 15 steps. You announce the steps. Kadesh, Urchatz, and so on. Everybody says that. Now, we have 15 steps. Why 15? Because there are 15 steps leading to the Beit HaMikdash, to the Holy Temple. So whenever we say the entire Haggadah, it's like we ascended to the Holy Temple. The Seder is made up of 15 steps. So the first step is Kadesh. Simply it means to make Kiddush. But Kadesh means sanctity, holy. And there is a little bit of a dichotomy over here, because it should say, after Kaddish, it says Urchatz, but Urchatz means to wash. But first it should say Urchatz, to wash, and then Kaddish, because we are coming now to a very holy moment, and before you enter a holy moment, you wash your hands ritually. And we are not doing that at the Seder table. We say Kaddish first, sanctification. What do we learn from this? You learn from this that in order for a person to understand the meaning of sanctity, you have to have sanctity itself. When the Romans conquered the temple, they wanted to go into the temple to capture the loot. And they were afraid to go in because the temple was a dangerous place for a non-Jew to go, who wanted to capture and loot the temple. So they got this guy, a Jew, and they said to him, if you go into the temple and you bring us out the loot, the first thing that you will bring out will belong to you. So he doesn't believe. He said, fine, I'll go. And he goes. He goes in, comes out with the menorah. They take the menorah away from him. That's too precious, but could go in again. By the way, that menorah is in Rome today, in the cellars of the Vatican. They take the menorah away from him. As a matter of fact, if you go to Rome, see the Arch of Titus? Engraved on the arch is the Jews being taken in captivity with the menorah. You see the menorah engraved upon the arch. In any event, they take away the menorah. It's name was Yosef the Mashiach. He was a corrupt Jew. So they say to him, now you go in again, and what you'll find out, the first will belong to you, and the rest is ours. He says, no. They will kill you. He says, no. They torture him. No. So what happened? Before, he was so happy to go in. Now he doesn't go anymore. What happened? What went wrong? Do you know what happened? Kadesh. He entered sanctity. He entered a holy place. And once you touch sanctity, you cannot go back and sin. So you can sin when you don't realize what sanctity is. Once you come in contact with that which is holy, you cannot go back and sin. I myself had a very unbelievable experience many, many years ago. After Madison Square Garden, we're going back many, many years, a lady approached me. Her daughter became part of the Jews for Jesus. She was one of the leaders. Would I come to Florida, because they lived in Florida, and try to speak to her? And she'll make a program there. So sure enough, we took Miami Beach Convention Hall, and she was invited by her mother to come. In the interim, my reputation had spread amongst that cult, and they knew that I was dangerous. Meaning I would bring back young people who assimilated and went to that cult. I would return them to the Jewish people. So much so that they were supposed to be in Madison Square Garden right after me, and they had to cancel their program because they lost their membership to me. All Jewish kids, Jews for Jesus. So now my reputation precedes me. They are not going to come to my program. Nobody's allowed to listen to me, but they are going to be standing outside of the convention hall and pray for me, that my soul should return to the right place and I should see the truth. Christianity. So we put on loudspeakers and was heard in the entire area. We got permission. After the program, she disappears with the entire group. I don't see her. So mother is very disappointed. What are you going to do now? I said, I'm coming home with you. And I will wait in your living room until she comes. So I'm sitting there in the darkness. It's 1 o'clock, it's 2 o'clock, it's 3 o'clock. 3:30, the door opens. It's her. She opens the light and she sees me. She gives a yell. Can you imagine? She was scared stiff. And I take her in my arms and I said, I came to bring you back to our people. Did I argue with her? Did I debate with her? I accomplished it in 1 minute, and others were arguing and debating for months, for years with her. No one could get anywhere. Do you know how I did it? Sanctity. I took her in my arms and I opened the siddur. I told her, let's say the Shema together. Once you say the Shema, how could you go back to that? Yosef Mashiach, once he entered the temple, how could he possibly go back to loot the temple again? He touched sanctity. So on Seder night, we want everybody to come back to Hashem. So we start the Seder, we open the Seder with sanctity. And then we can wash ritually. The Seder will commence. So I just gave you one thought about the different order of the Seder. Seder itself means order. We had 15 steps, remember this? 15 steps to the Holy Temple, 15 steps to the Beit HaMikdash, to the Holy Temple, and 15 steps in the Seder. So let's continue now. We are commencing the Seder. Now we make Kiddush. Now everybody on Seder night has to make Kiddush, in contrast to Shabbos. On Shabbos, you know what happens? On Shabbos, only the father makes Kiddush. One person makes Kiddush. Others, no one should stand outside, let them come in. So on Shabbos, only the father makes Kiddush. And everyone else takes a sip of wine, and they say, Borbet Bi Hagafen, correct? But on Seder night, every person, young and old, small children, adult children, they all must make Kiddush. So we have a Kiddush cup in front of each plate. Why? Because tonight, the Jewish people celebrate their anniversary, and we are experiencing sanctity. So we all make Kiddush together. And even if children do not know how to read, nevertheless, they hold a cup of wine and they repeat after their daddies. So now we come to the Seder itself. We continue. And we have kappas. We take a piece of vegetable. Could be celery, could be boiled potatoes, lettuce. Everybody takes another type of a vegetable and dip it into salt water. Why? Because this is a reminder to us that spring is commencing. Pesach, spring commences. Why do we have to know that? Very important. You see, before God ever created the world, the first thing he created was the Torah. The Torah is the blueprint of the world. So he created spring. And he said, that's the time when I redeem. And that is why our people were redeemed in spring, in the month of Nisan. Our father Abraham was not alive when the Torah was given. Father Abraham lived centuries before the Torah was given. But he kept Pesach. He baked matzahs. How did he know about it? He knew, because you know what happens? If you have sanctity, then your neshama speaks. He stood kidney Israel like the Ten Commandments. He understood sanctity. So we dip the vegetation into salt water because it's spring, but we had salt. We had salty tears from all our suffering. And we crossed the sea, and that was salty. Good salt and bad salt. Tears are also good salt, but we don't understand it as such. But tears can cleanse the soul. So when you cry, you could go through cleansing or anger. It's up to you. So kappas, and there are many other reasons, but I cannot go into it now, because I want to move on. All right? And now I'm skipping to Magid. Magid means we start the Seder. And we open the Seder with the words, Holachmu Anyo. This is the bread of affliction, the bread of the poor, that our forefathers ate in Egypt. All those who are in need, those who are hungry, let them all come and celebrate Pesach with us. All those who are hungry, let them all come in. All those who are in need, let them all come in and celebrate Pesach with us. Now let me ask you, isn't this rather hypocritical? Is anyone going to come in now in the last minute? The Seder is commencing. We made our invitations before, no? So why are we inviting people now? It's a very beautiful thought that I will share with you now. Your guest is sitting at the Seder. And maybe he feels, indebted. Maybe he feels a little bit uncomfortable. So we tell him that our Seder would not be complete without him or her. come in. It's not only people who are hungry, who don't have where to go, who don't have bread or food or a dinner on their table, but it's also those who are lonely and the bereft of family. There are also those who are lonely and their fathers and their mothers are not capable of making a Seder. So everyone come in, those who are in need, those who are hungry. And we say this prayer in Aramaic, because this prayer was pronounced in Babylon, in Eretz Israel, when we had the Holy Temple. We did not have to say it this way, because no one ever made arrangements for Seder, which was always in Jerusalem, without having previously arranged everybody coming to this Seder. But now we have guests. And those guests have to be made to feel comfortable. So they should feel, I am also doing a favor by my presence here. So now we come to the Manishtana. We have 4 questions that you have to ask. Amazing. On Seder night, everything is full. 4 sons, 4 questions, 4 cups of wine. Isn't that so? What's with 4? So let me explain to you. A 3-legged table, can it stand? Absolutely. But is a 4-legged table stronger? Of course. A 3-legged table could wobble a little bit. A 4-legged table is very firm and strong. Who makes a Jew a Jew? We have 3 fathers, but we have 4 mothers. How do you know that somebody is Jewish? What do you ask? Is your mother Jewish? If your father is Jewish and your mother is not Jewish, you are not Jewish. So if someone says to you, I'm half and half, doesn't work. Can you be half and half pregnant? Either you're pregnant or you're not pregnant. Can't be half and half. Either you are or you're not. Either you are Jewish or you're not Jewish. So we have 4 mothers who guarantee that the Jewish people will survive and continue. Because every mother gives her child, son or daughter, the foundation for Judaism, for Torah. Don't forget the Torah of your mother. Don't forget the Torah of your mother. And those of you who are single, and you're about to get married or will get married one day, don't forget the best preparation for a wedding is not to go for some crazy counseling, but rather to prepare yourself to be a mother of Israel, a grandmother of Israel, to be a mother of Israel. 4. We have 4 cups which we toast, toasting our redemption, 4 expressions for liberation in the Torah. 4. 4 sons representing every segment of the population. So everything is full. And now 4 questions. Why does the Torah commence with questions? That is to say, the Haggadah. Why does the Haggadah commence with questions? Why? Does everyone have to ask a question? What if you don't have children at your Seder? Do we still have to ask the 4 questions? What if you are all alone at the Seder, God forbid? Do you still have to ask yourself the question? What do you think? Of course. Can that be that someone is all alone at the Seder? Yes, it happened to me. One year, I'm preparing for the Seder, and we always had all the widows in our community, and all the widowers come to our Seder table. And my children who were married, specifically my daughter Chayesara, she's my oldest, was coming home with her small children for Pesach. I get a phone call. I didn't even want to answer because I'm so late. I'm so overwhelmed. getting everything ready. But something told me to answer, to pick up. I pick up. It's my brother. He's crying. Esther, come quickly. Tati, my father, had a stroke. It's bad. I called the ambulance. In those days we didn't have a Hatzalah. They're coming for me. I grab my bag. I leave a note for my daughter Chayesara. In those days we didn't have cell phones. Finish cooking. Do whatever you can. I'm running to Zeta. My son, Osher Anshul, runs after me. Ima, did you take more? I said, these guys minds because I took all the ingredients I needed for the Seder. I said, Moro, I don't need Shinkite. I have it in my heart. But of course I took it. Do you have chavoses? That which is sweet. That I need. But I have to make the sweetness in my heart. The matzahs. Did you take the matzahs, Mommy? Yes, I took the matzahs. The bread of our affliction. I took it all. I arrive. My holy saintly father is in ER. Unconscious. Doesn't react. I open the Haggadah. And I read the Haggadah. I go through every word and my tears drench my Haggadah. I come to Manishtano. I ask Manishtano. Who will answer me? Says the Tata Leben, my dear father, in Yiddish. Ich will dir fragen die 4 Kashas. I want to ask you the 4 questions. Manishtano halayla hazeh. What is the meaning of this night? Why is it different? And I said, Tati, answer me. Please, my Holy Father, answer me. But there was no answer. Sitting the whole night in the chair, by myself, asking myself the question. I will never forget that Seder night. Towards the morning, they found a room, and we go upstairs. The sun was finally shining, and my saintly father opened his eyes. I said, Tati, es ist Pesach. It's Pesach. And my Tati said, ich weiß, mein Kind, I know, my child. Du bist doch geboren. You were born on Pesach. Sei gebencht, Kind. Be blessed. You were born on Pesach. Coming out of his coma. His first words. Do you understand this? So we commence the Seder with Manish Tana. We ask questions. But why do we have to ask questions? Because if you do not ask a question, you cannot really learn. Questions make it wisdom. Question gives you answers, but if you don't ask, it's no use. Once there was a Rebbe, true story, Reb Zundel. He needed a shidduch for his daughter. There was no one in his shtetl where he was the Rebbe. So he decided, with his Rebbetzin, that he has to go to the best yeshiva, Volozhin. Volozhin was an excellent yeshiva. Goes to the Rosh Yeshiva and he says, who is the best boy in your yeshiva? So the Rosh Yeshiva says, I don't know. They're all good boys. Test them. Go in there. Go to the Beit HaMidrash. Go to the place where they study. Ask them. Ask them questions. He goes in. He poses some questions. He's shocked. No one can give him the answer. There are no candidates here. He wants the best boy in the yeshiva. No one, not one. What are you going to do? Very upset. So he tells the rabbi, the Rosh Yeshiva. He says, I don't know what to tell you. Try another yeshiva. And then in the morning, he calls his driver. He gets into his buggy, and the driver is ready to whip the horses. Let's go. And a boy, one of the boys from the yeshiva, runs, Rabbi, please wait. Please wait. So, he has the answer to my question, he thought. And the boy comes near. He says, do you have the answer to my question? And he says, no. But please, Rabbi, the entire night I was up thinking about it. Please do not leave without giving us an answer. So that's the boy for my daughter. It's not knowing the answer, it's asking the question. Because if you ask the question, then you will understand. Today people ask questions about, what does it cost? Where do we go? Where should we eat? Questions about God. Questions about the Torah. Questions about our faith. So when a child goes to school, like when my children went to school, the biggest compliment the rabbi could give me when I went up to open school was to say, I can fragen a gute Shaila. He knows how to ask a good question. That's the best compliment. So we commence the Seder night with Manishtano. We ask questions. Now we continue. And we see something unbelievable. Avodim ho'inu paro, we were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt. V'yotzenu Hashem Elokeinu, and God brought us forth Mishom from there. B'yus chazuk, with a strong hand, b'zran between our strong hand. V'lo hotzi HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If God would have not brought us forth, then listen carefully to these words. Avosenu, and our fathers, Mitzrayim from Egypt, Hari Onu, then we, Uvonenu, and our children, Uvnei Vonenu, and our future children, all our generations, Mishabudim Ho'inu Paro Mitzrayim, would still be slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt. Does that make sense to you? Our forefathers were slaves thousands of years ago. And here we say, we open the Haggadah, if not for the fact that God brought us forth from Egypt, we'd still be slaves. Does that make sense? No. How many revolutions occurred since those days? Do you know of anybody who's still a slave? Maybe in some crazy primitive countries. Places that we never heard of. But slaves? We were the first ones to be in bondage. And Moshe Rabbeinu, our great Rebbe, proclaimed, let my people go to worship God. And since then, all nations who sought freedom repeated that cry. The cry of the black people, the song of the black people for a long time was, go down Moses. Remember that spiritual song? And the end was, let my people go. So how could God say to us that we would still be slaves? Does it make sense to you? No. But it makes a lot of sense. It doesn't say we would still be slaves, but it says we would still be enslaved. Enslaved. That's a literal translation. Enslaved is different than slaves. Enslaved means that we would be enslaved. People are enslaved today to addictions. All kinds of addiction. It could be liquor, it could be smoking, it could be immorality, it could be everything. TV, gambling, jogging. You can't live without it. In freezing weather, no matter what, you have to jog. Anything. TV, the computer, the iPad. Be enslaved to that scrolling on the BlackBerry. Scrolling. When you're walking around, I go into the doctor's office. Mother and son are in the waiting room. Mother and daughter, do they talk to each other? No. They keep scrolling. Each has their different little BlackBerry. I was speaking someplace. The man comes to drive us, or the woman comes to drive us. And I come out to get into the car, scrolling. While the person is driving, scrolling. Addiction. What news can that be already? Why do we have to keep scrolling? So on one occasion I said to somebody, why don't you take a book in your hands, a sefer? Why don't you take a tehillim, a psalm? What are you looking for? There are people day and night they are scrolling. For what? For who? What news can there be? There's something important. You'll hear about it. The same thing over and over again. Searching. You know why? Because they are enslaved to that BlackBerry. Enslaved to the iPhone or the iPod. Enslaved. It's our generation that is enslaved. So much so that when people walk on the street, they don't even look up. They are constantly scrolling. On the street. You know how dangerous that is? And how inconsiderate that is? Somebody falls, somebody needs help. They don't see that person. Scrolling. All the time scrolling. So now you understand that if God wouldn't have brought us forth from Egypt, we would still be enslaved. Be just like every other Jew. So how come that we are not? Because what did the Torah give us? The Torah gave us freedom. I'm walking on the street. I'm so hungry. I'm hungry. I want to eat something. I can't wait. I want to eat something right now. I pass a Frankfurter stand. They are selling franks. Or hamburgers, whatever. I don't eat it. I'm free. I'm not enslaved to that hamburger or to that frankfurter, that hot dog. I'm not a slave to that hot dog. I could pass by and say, it's not kosher. My grandson, who is right now a great Torah scholar, my grandson Shmuley, was 2 years old. In those days, for the high holidays, we were spending our time always, we had our services in the Plaza Hotel. So, in the Plaza, on the high holidays, they would leave a little chocolate. In many hotels, they do that on your pillow. And my grandson, 2 years old, loved chocolate. He comes over to me with the chocolate. Bubba? I said, yes. Kosher? I said, no, Shefa, it's not kosher. You can't eat it. Very serious face, but throws away the candy. We are not enslaved, because from the time that he was born, he was told, meat and milk. You can't have it together. Kosher. Everything has to be kosher. So we're not enslaved. Somebody comes over to a Jew who keeps Shabbos, I'll give you $1 million. But you have to work on Saturdays. Like this poor guy makes $80,000, has to support a family from that, a large family, pay his rent, pay his bills, clothing, food. He has a house full of kids, medications, whatever has to be paid for. I'll give you $1 million if you are going to work for me. But you have to work on Saturday. You know what he will say? Shabbos? God forbid. I'm not enslaved. I'm free. There's no amount of money you could give me. You cannot buy me. So if not for the fact that God brought us forth and took us to Mount Sinai, we would still be enslaved like everybody in our generation. It's an addicted generation. We don't hear, we don't see, only our addictions. And we follow it blindly. So now we continue. I want you to remember these things and share it at the Seder. So it's Maaseh Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yehoshua, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Azayu, Rabbi Akiva. The story of Rabbi Tafon, the story that concerns these rabbis. Where did it happen? Where did it unfold? In Bnei Brak, the holy city. To this day, Bnei Brak is a city in Israel, not far from Tel Aviv, that is a place for very saintly people who really devote their lives to studying Torah. So these rabbis stayed up the entire night studying Torah, not studying Torah as Torah, but studying the Haggadah. The entire night. And then their students came, Rabbetzin, our rabbis, the time to say the morning prayers have come. What is the meaning of this? And then it says, all those who add and who amplify the story, keep relating the story, and give examples, and search the story that is written in the Haggadah, they are meshubach, they are honored. They are to be praised. It's praiseworthy to look and to dig and to find deep hidden meanings in the words of the Haggadah. Of course, today, most people at the Seder will say, all right, let's get on with the show. We don't want to have here anymore. When we're talking, it's enough. I'm hungry. Let's have the matzah balls. We are hungry. You're not interested in more talking. But it's a very big mitzvah to everyone to go through the Haggadah very meticulously and to study and to probe. These rabbis, none of them were commanded to go through the Haggadah. You know why? Because they were not enslaved in Egypt. They say their ancestors were not enslaved. Either they were Kohanim or Leviim. Kohanim and Leviim come from the same family. Aaron and Moses were brothers, and Aaron became the father of the Kohanim, and Moses became the father of the Leviim. And they were not enslaved. You know why? Because when Pharaoh in Egypt called upon all the citizens of Egypt to build cities of fortification if there is to be a war, he knew that would be a good ploy to get all the Jews together, because Jews are patriots. They always want to show, we are patriots. Our allegiance is to the motherland, the fatherland. And this happened in Europe, in Germany, in all the countries. The Jews would say, Vatersland, this is our father's land. And Berlin is our new Jerusalem. So, no change in the world, everything is the same. Ein chadash tachat hashemesh, nothing new is under the sun. The Jews all volunteered to build the cities of fortification, not knowing that they're going to be building for themselves hell, torture, slave camps. That's what happened in Europe as well. Hitler went around saying, Achtung, Achtung, Juden, Juden, attention, attention, all Jews. As soon as they arrived, register for slave labor right now. Otherwise, you are food for the gas chambers. And people registered and never realized that they are going to be amongst the first to be taken. But, in ancient Egypt, there was one tribe that refused to be enslaved. They stayed home to study Torah. That was the tribe of Levi. We don't care about being patriots, we don't care about any of this. There's only one thing in our lives, Torah. Everybody follows me? So these people stayed up studying Torah. Rabbi Akiva was not a Levi. Rabbi Akiva was a convert his parents had not been Jews. His family had not been Jews. And he was also not obligated to study the Haggadah, because his family was not enslaved. But nevertheless, all these rabbis stayed up the entire night studying and reciting the Haggadah. And when the students came, it's time to get up from the study and recite the morning prayers. There was a very deep meaning to that call, because this was under Roman domination. The Romans made a decree: anyone who studies Torah will be killed. So when these rabbis studied the Haggadah and the Torah, they opened themselves to great danger. If they're found studying, they will be killed. So one day, another Jew came over to Rabbi Akiva and said, "Why do you do this? You are endangering your life. Don't you know? If they'll catch you, they'll kill you." And they keep searching to see who is studying Torah. Now you may not understand this, but I know because I lived it. To keep our faith was not permitted. So now, Rabbi Akiva answers this man and he says, "What you are saying reminds me of a fox." A fox is an animal that is supposed to be very shrewd and smart. But the fox is a fool. The fox goes to the seashore and says to the little fish, "Little fish, little fish, come out. Don't you know that fishermen will come and they'll catch you and they'll eat you up? Come out quickly, come out." And the fish responds, "What are you talking about, fox? Sure, we are in danger of fishermen coming. We know that. But if we leave the living waters, how are we going to survive on dry land? On dry land we will surely die. The Torah is the life of the Jewish people, the lifeline. Those are living waters. If you leave it, you will die." That some people have family trees, that the last leaves have fallen. God forbid. And the entire family died, all in intermarriage. Disappeared. They came out of the living waters and they died. And who ate them up? The fox. They were consumed. They gave up their faith, their heritage, Mount Sinai, for the fox, because they were fools. They fell into the trap. And then we have the story, which is another amazing story, and all this in the Haggadah, because all this is really the constitution of the Jewish people. Torah, invite people to your Seder. This is our constitution. These are the teachings of the founding fathers. Pesach is the anniversary of the Jewish people. Anniversary celebration. So now we come to Omar Rabbi Elazar ben Azario. The Rabbi Elazar ben Azario said, "Havi ani kaven shivim shana." I am like 70 years old. What do you mean like 70 years old? Are you 70 or not? I'm like 70. What does that mean? Follow me. Rabbi Elazar ben Azario was 17. A young boy. Brilliant. If I tell you brilliant, brilliant. He was asked to be the head of the Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin means the Supreme Court in Jerusalem. So he said what every Jewish man should say. When somebody asks a Jewish man to do something, offers him a position, what should every Jewish man say? "I will speak to my wife, and I'll get back to you." That's a good Jewish man. "I'll discuss it with my wife." So he said, "Thank you for this awesome invitation. I'll have to discuss it with my wife." So his wife was also a young girl, but women are very wise. Wise in certain things. They could see, they have foresight. So she said to him, "Sure, it's a beautiful position. It's a great honor. But, they won't respect you. You are too young. He's thinking. And he can't come to a conclusion. Goes to sleep at night. Wakes up in the morning totally white. Said, Kevin, I'm like a 70-year-old man now. And he took the job. He filled the position. So why does the Haggadah start with this story? What relevance does this have to the Exodus from Egypt? This is our anniversary. And the woman was created to be a helper for her husband. But the word helper in the Bible is connector against him. So she must be able to criticize him when he is on the wrong path. To give compliments, say yes darling, yes darling, yes darling, doesn't help you. If you look ridiculous in the suit that you are wearing, you need somebody to say, honey, this suit is not appropriate for you. If somebody really loves you, they will criticize you. But we live in a society, in a culture that cannot take truth. So we go around with lies, and everybody is a fool and looks ridiculous. Oh, you look so beautiful in that. Meanwhile, behind their back, doesn't she look horrible in that? Oh, that was so wise. Oh, what a clever remark. Can you ever see such an idiot? Did you ever see such an idiot? Behind the back. We speak like phonies. The wife is there to tell the truth. This is how the Haggadah starts. See this preamble? Now you find that. Everybody has to tell the story, even if you are brilliant, even if you are not obligated because parents were not, your ancestors were not in Egypt. You have to invite people to your Seder. You have to ask questions. You have to keep thinking. Remember Rebbetzin, it's not the answers, but this young man, this student says, please tell me. The entire night I was up thinking and thinking. The question bothered me. Didn't allow me to sleep. It's awesome. So now we continue. And we come to an amazing section. We speak about the four sons, and the four sons are introduced in this manner. Baruch HaMokom, Baruch Hu. Blessed is the place. Blessed is he. Baruch Shenisan Torah L'Amo Yisrael. Blessed is the one who gave the Torah to his Jewish people. Blessed is the place. Why isn't God called God? Why the place? From whence do you know this word HaMokom for God? Whenever, God forbid, someone said shiver, then you go into that home and you say, HaMokom Yonachim. The God should give you comfort. But means we don't say the word God, we call God Mokom, the place. Why do we say that? Because when your heart is breaking, you need to know that even in that place where your heart is breaking and there's all darkness, there's a place where God is there in your heart. Although you think it's all darkness, God is still in you. Wherever you are, God is with you. So the four sons are introduced with Baruch HaMokom. Blessed is the place. Even in the heart of the wicked one, there is a tiny place where God exists. So how do we understand this now further? Regarding these four sons, the Torah speaks. So it says, Echod, one was Chocham, was wise. Echod Rosho, one was wicked. Echod Tom, one was a simpleton. Ve'echod she'ino yodea lishol, and one didn't know how to ask questions. Why are the four sons introduced with the word Echod? One. Can't you say 4 sons? One is like this, one is like that, one is like that. 2 teachings. Every person has an echod, one part of him that God forbid could be wicked, or could be a simpleton, that's not a God forbid, or could be the type of child who doesn't know how to ask, or could be wise. One part. And every person has one part in him, in the computer, a little program that could be the presence of God. You just have to bring up the program. You cannot bring up the program so easily in someone else. The person himself has the desire to bring up the program. Because when you bring up the program, if you don't want to look at it, if you want to read it, in vain do you bring up the program. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? You have to look at the computer. You have to look at the site. But if you refuse to look, in vain do you bring up the program. So one is wise, one is wicked, and one is a simpleton, and one is a person who doesn't know how to ask. So let's try to understand the reactions of these 4 children, and let's see what they say and how they ask. Remember what we said earlier? Asking questions is the key, not only for children, but for you and me. The best thing could say, what is Rashi trying to say? What is the Torah trying to say? Whenever I teach, those who have been coming to my classes regularly, you will remember that I always say, what is the meaning of this? What is the Torah trying to teach us? So let's see. Chocham. What does the Chocham say? The Chocham is the wise one. What does he say? What are the meanings of these ordinances, of these witnesses, and of these judgments that God commanded you? God our God commanded you. And you, and more, you should say to him, all the laws of Pesach, and once you have the afikomen, you cannot eat anything anymore. What are we talking about? Chocham. But before I give you the answer on Chocham, I want you to listen to the Rosha and make the contrast. And then we'll compare. Rosha, the wicked one, Mahu Omer, what does he say? What is the meaning of this work to you? Lochem to you and not to him. Because he thinks he's smarter and better than others, and he excludes himself from the people. He rejects the essence of our Torah. You shall dull his teeth, put his teeth on edge. And you should say to him, because of this, God made the miracle for me and brought me forth from Egypt. Me, no, and not you. You know, for your sham, if you would have been there, your nigwa, you wouldn't have been saved. What is the difference? The Chocham says, he also asks, what is the meaning of this labor? What is the meaning of this work? But he doesn't say work. You know what he does? What is the meaning of Edot, Chukim, Mishpatim? These are the 3 categories of Jewish laws. Edot means witnesses, like the matzah is a testimony, a witness to the fact that the Jewish people were in Egypt. It's a witness. The menorah is a witness to the Hanukkah holiday. We are witnesses, and so on. That's a witness. Mishpatim, judgments, are something that's very logical, and some people might think it's not necessary to even command them. Like, for example, you shall not kill. You shall not steal. You think you know what that means. You don't really. But stealing is also stealing someone's ideas. Stealing someone's boyfriend or girlfriend. Stealing someone's time. You hang around with this girl for 4 years. And then you say, I'm sorry, I love you, but. And but, I explained so many times, means in Hebrew, zero. It's a nice way of saying, I'm not marrying you. I would love to invite you to my wedding, but I can't. You're not being invited. Buts are zero. So we have to appreciate that when they ask, when the Rasha asks, and the Chacham asks, is two different ways. The Chacham says, what are these chokim, these mishpatim, these edot? He realizes that the Torah is divided into 3, and it doesn't make any buts. He realizes that Torah is divided into 3, no buts, accepts it completely. 3, everybody with me? And he realizes that God, Hashem Elokeinu, our God commanded us. Us. And when he says us, he uses the word eschem, which means osi v'chem, me and you, not just you. The Rasha, on the other hand, never mentions the name God. And he just mockingly says, what is this chore, or avodah, this chore, this work, that God commanded lachem, you. Only you, doesn't include himself. I'm sorry, he never says the word God. He just says, what are the meanings of these commandments? Doesn't say the word. I'm sorry, doesn't even say commandments. I'm just so used to saying that of this chore, of this work, avodah, this work. What are the meanings, or is the reason for this work that you do? No God, no mitzvah, no mention of our God, and no mention of inclusion of himself, osi v'chem, I and you, just you. Do you understand the difference? The Chacham is a wise boy, or a wise child, not because he knows the answer. He wants to know, he's curious, he's asking questions, but he recognizes that Hashem Elokeinu, our God, commanded them. There's not just random happenings, not just random teachings. God commanded it. It's not just random traditions. God commanded it. Everybody follows me? If God commanded it, I have to observe it. Doesn't matter whether I understand or not. I'm a chacham. I see that it's God who commanded it, but I still would like to understand the meaning behind it, but I'm keeping it, I'm doing it. I am committed to it because it's God who commanded it. And why do we have to eat kosher? Why did God command us to eat kosher? The very fact that he says, why did God command us to eat kosher, means that you're going to keep kosher. Because you recognize that God commanded it. God commanded it, you have to do it. Very often I get annoyed with people who say to me, Rebbetzin, give me a good reason to keep kosher. I said, are you out of your mind? I should give you a reason? It's not good enough that God gave you the commandment? I should tell you? God commanded it, finished. And that's the Chacham. He accepts it, but he would like to have an understanding of it. But while he's asking to have an understanding, he's observing it meticulously. That's why he's a Chacham. Our God commanded us, me and you. Do you understand how the elevator works? Of course not. Do you understand all the machines in there? Of course not. But do you get on the elevator? Of course you do. Even when you go to a doctor, do you start questioning him? Are you sure I should take this and that, that? You may ask, but if you're going to make him crazy, he says, please, lady, leave. Do you understand how a car works? How an aeroplane works? You get on the plane, you get into the car, a railroad, you do it all. You have trust. You have faith, even though you don't understand it. So we shouldn't have faith in God. So the Chacham is a Chacham because he divides the Torah, the mitzvahs, into 3 categories, which he recognizes. He says, God, our God, commanded us, me and you. And Russia, on the other hand, never mentions God. And to him, the whole thing is a pain in the neck, a chore. It's a chore. It's a pain in the neck. He doesn't want to do it. He rejects it. He mocks it. He ridicules it. So what do you do with him? That you blunt his teeth, which means you make it difficult for him to speak. And you say, all right, you're at the table, you invited. We're not excluding you. But if you would have been in Egypt, you would not have been liberated. You would not have come forth. You'd be with all the wicked ones. And you don't go into discussions with them. Anybody who mocks the Torah, don't go into discussions. Because he will not be convinced. You know what he has to do, the Rasha? The wicked one? Oh, please. I can't believe that you are so naive. You actually buy that nonsense? Or he just sneers at you. Oh, please. Like you have a nutcase. Like you have a few microchips missing. And he just sneers at you and mocks you and moves on. And you are left with egg on your face. So don't get into discussions. Put his teeth on edge. That's it. You are not equipped to get into discussions. You might have the best answers, but he's going to be sneering because he's a Russia. He doesn't want to hear it. So when someone is convinced that they are right and they don't want to hear what you have to say, they don't hear it. They just don't hear it. Go talk to people and you will see it's like talking to a wall. It just bobs off. It bounces off. They don't get it. And then there's the Tom, the simpleton. If you are going to explain to the Tom, the simpleton, the intricacies, the teachings, he's going to become a Chacham one day, a wise man. And then there is the one who doesn't know how to ask. Can that be that someone doesn't know how to ask? My little children, my great-grandchildren, the little ones, they all ask. I go for Shabbos, I have, 2 little twins. I mean, the questions they ask are amazing. Amazing. Why this and why that? They're amazing. So children know how to ask. So who doesn't know how to ask? Sheina Yedalisho doesn't know to ask. It says, Pesach, you in the feminine. Because you in Hebrew is not a generic you. Either it's feminine or masculine. So, at is feminine in you. You, the mother, answer him. You make him ask. You, the mother, make him ask. At Pesach, you have to open his mouth. You have to open his lips. You have to make his tongue work. What does this all mean? So what does it mean that a person doesn't know how to ask and he's a potential Rasha, he's a potential wicked one? If he doesn't know how to ask, it's because he is not interested in anyone else. To him, the world is me, 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 me. Is it my covet? Is it in my honor? Where do I stand in this? Where do I sit? What is my position? And for that person is ready to kill. He doesn't know how to ask. How will this affect you? Am I hurting you? I don't want to disturb you. You're having a simcha. I don't want to disturb you. Or whatever it is. The inner Yodalisha doesn't know how to ask. If you're going to let him go, he's going to become a Rasha. Be careful. At the mother, you make sure that your little ones, when they are young, you teach them to ask, Mommy, how are you feeling? How is Grandpa? How is Grandma? Mommy, are you tired? Should I bring you a drink? You're getting company. Mommy, can I help you? Can I set the table? Of course you can. No, the kid doesn't know how to set the table. It's a mess. But wonderful. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for asking. You have to teach the child how to ask. Mommy, can I offer you something? So when you become older, that child becomes an adult. And the child says, Mother, won't you come over for dinner? Or you visit, and the mother says, No, just give me a glass of water. Mommy, you're in my home. Please, I'm making you dinner. What do you mean a glass of water? But you have to teach them how to ask when they are very young. To have feelings for others. These are the 4 sons, and they're all at the table. And they all have a little bit of God in them. So make sure that you work on that God, that pintalayid, that spark of Judaism that is there in their hearts. Bring it up. Make it a flame. And make the voice of God come out from their soul. And let the voice of God light up their eyes. Illuminate their faces. These are your 4 sons, Jewish people. And you don't know why you have a Rasha for a son. You don't know why you have a Chacham. You can only pray to God. But one thing is true, that you have to have the ability to follow the way of the Torah and raise your children with that wisdom. In the Torah, God quotes, this is a quotation from the Torah, we quote the Agada from the Torah. When the Jewish people were told that they are going to have sons, about the 4 sons, and they were told they're going to have a wicked son. Some people will have a wicked son. It says that they bowed down and said, thank you to God. How do you say thank you for God, for the wicked son? How do you say thank you to God for the wicked son? Easy. Because the Torah teaches you how to handle him, and you could make from the wicked son a good son, but you can only do it when the child is very young. Because after that, the nature, the personality is already shaped. Unless that person is ready to give everything he's got, or she has, to become the son who is the wise son. So listen to me, my friends. This is just the beginning of the Haggadah. Next week we will continue, and I hope we will finish it. So when you go to the Seder, you should have good material. If you come early next week, at 7:30, Rabbi Yisroel is going to go through the rituals of the Haggadah, of the Seder, and teach you everything that you have to know. Have a model Seder. So when you go to the Seder, you should be an intelligent participant, not just a silent observer. Intelligent participant. And that's the best gift that you come with to the Seder, rather than flowers and candy or wine. Be a giver at the Seder and share with the people that which you learned. So we are going to have Ma'ariv services, by the way, next week also, because it's the last Thursday night before Pesach, that we are having a class. We're going to have a beautiful dinner here. So don't eat at home. We're going to have a dinner over here. A very good dinner. A meat dinner. Not just bagels and lox, okay? Because it's the last week before Pesach. So we're going to be participating in a Seudah to get ourselves ready for Pesach. And now you are going to have Ma'ariv services here for the gentlemen. And in the hallway, we have, as always, delicious fresh chali for Shabbos, Zecher Nishmas, in memory of Chaya Golda Figel Bas Yitzchak. And Chaya Golda Figel's Bas Yitzchak's daughter, Fadel, is going to distribute those chalis. I want to wish each and every person a wonderful, wonderful Shabbos. This is our first Shabbos that we are celebrating in the month of Nisan, the month of Pesach, and Nisan is the month of miracles. And remember one last thought. and take it home. God brought us forth from Egypt. That was easy for God. But it is written in Torah, Yetzias Mitzrayim, the removal of Egypt, not Yetzias Mitzrayim from Egypt. Yetzias Mitzrayim, the removal of Egypt. It's one thing for God to take us out of Egypt. It's something else for us to remove Egypt from our hearts. Think about that. There's a teaching of the great Satmar Rebbe. It's one thing for God to take us out of Egypt. It's something else again to take Egypt out of our hearts. Think about that. Because in every generation there is an Egypt. Each culture that you live in. Something for God to preserve us here in the United States, but something else for you to remove the culture of our society from our hearts. And to think like Jews and act like Jews. Rather than allow the degeneracy of this culture, this society, to penetrate your heart and mind. So I love you all. I wish you all a very good Shabbos. And please God, I'll see you next week. 7:30, Rabbi Yisroel will have a model Seder, and then we are going to have our class.